Hey, welcome back to my channel, CokiCreative. My name is Elena, and today we're doing a speed build. I built this back in May of 2021, but I'm finally getting around to editing this video. This is probably my favorite tiny house that I've ever built. So yeah, we're building a tiny house today on this big-ish lot. I mean, it's not a huge lot, but I chose a bigger lot because I want to do a lot of landscaping. So buckle up and prepare yourself for some landscaping. I did edit out a lot of the, I want to call boring parts, but they're not really boring. They're just sort of repetitive. So I cut out a lot of the repetitive parts. So you're welcome. This is for, this was for a collab. Last year, a tiny house collab, and I knew I had to do something. I mean, gosh, the collab was all about coconut, bless you. The collab was all about, sorry, my dog was sneezing, tiny houses. And this was actually my second attempt. I started building another one, but I just wasn't good enough. So I build a lot of tiny houses, and this was supposed to be a collab to show off a good tiny house. And I was like, I can't just build any tiny house. And it's really hard because, not that I don't think I could make something like a tiny house special, but I thought, wow, if I just did something with maybe like the landscaping, that could make this a little bit different than some of my other tiny houses. The one I started building first, I did end up finishing, and it is on the gallery. You would have no idea that it's completely different than this. It's purple. It's super cute. It's just completely different. But let me talk about this one. As you can see, I made a little faux sunroom. And that's for some fake square footage. So yeah, we're faking some of that square footage. Coconut, stop licking your bed. Girl, stop. Sorry. She does this thing where she licks her bed, and then she gets hair in her mouth. So if I see her doing it, I have to stop her. She just likes to lick things. Anyway, so as you can see, I made that faux sunroom, and now, oh shoot, I already did the roof. Yeah, I did the roof. Sorry. I just kind of want to, okay, I'm going to be honest with you guys real quick. I just want to get this speed build done. This is like my fourth attempt at doing this voiceover, and the first attempt today. I've just been playing so much Stardew Valley again, and I kind of want to get back to that. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I love The Sims. I like making these voiceovers, but all I can think about is my farm and how I want to get back to my farm. So, yeah, my mind isn't really here right now, and I could just keep putting this off, and I'm really good at that, but I'm going to stop procrastinating. I'm going to get this done. And yeah, you probably don't even really care to listen to my voiceovers. Maybe you're not even listening to this right now. Maybe you aren't. But hey, I'm here and I'm talking. So to make this like little sunroom, I used a lot of debug items, as you could tell. I wanted to have this like area underneath it very green, because I wanted to give it the illusion that it's like a little greenhouse area. Not a greenhouse, but a nice place to put like storage, since your Sims aren't gonna be walking there anyway. So it's kind of dead space, and I didn't really want it to be just empty space. I wanted to have some sort of unique look to it. And I never did anything like that, and I haven't done anything like this since. So yeah, I should make like a little faux room like that again at some point. Yeah. Anyway, back to, I'm actually building the house at this point. I do cut out me doing the layout of the interior, because especially with tiny houses, it takes me a second. Because it's like, how do I fit everything in so much like square footage, I want to say. And not just that though, because this is like a really weird shaped house. If you can't tell, I really wanted it to be at an angle, because I just kind of like the way it looks when you upload it on the gallery. And I mean, who doesn't love building on a diagonal? It just makes everything kind of place differently, especially if you're doing cabinets in the kitchen. It's kind of annoying, to be honest, but when you do a diagonal house and you finish it, you just want to give yourself a pat on the back. So here is the part where I start to edit out a lot of things, because yeah, we're doing a lot of landscaping. And let me tell you, this is probably the craziest part of this whole build. I did this in one sitting. I never do that. Well, okay, I've done it a couple times, but it was a 6-hour long video that I edited, start to finish, no cuts. Usually there's like a couple days worth of like going back and whatever. But yeah, I just did this in one sitting, and that's not typical. I think it was just because I got in the flow, and I love it when you get in the flow. There's nothing better when you actually get into a good building flow, because not that it doesn't happen that often, but sometimes, especially for collabs personally, I just have a hard time with them because I don't really like doing what people tell me to do. I kind of like doing what feels right, what feels good in the moment. And when it comes to collabs, it's like there are rules and there's a style you're supposed to build in, and then all of a sudden my mind draws a blank, and yeah. But this one, the rules were just like build a tiny house, and hey, I can do that. Yeah, I could definitely do that. Tiny house is perfect. Mansions, give me a couple days. But tiny houses, yeah, I can build that in a day. But usually I don't do this much landscaping for a tiny house, and I'm so glad I did. I've been really exploring with more landscaping and more terrain tooling. And I mean, I've always been a big fan of the terrain paint because it's free. And I want to say I like my houses to be affordable in the gallery, but they're not always, I'm not gonna lie. That's why I do like to use debug, because most of it's free. Oh, and this pond. Okay, so this was before cottage living. Let's take a step back in time, okay? Just think back to May 2021. Cottage living hasn't come out yet. The pond update has not come out yet. So I had to use the pool method to make ponds, and it just doesn't look as good. I mean, I've seen people that do it really well. I'm just not as good at it. I'm going to admit that, okay? I'm just not super great at making ponds with this method. I really, really like the wow. I mean, yeah, I love tool mod, but I really like the pond tool now. It's amazing. So yes, this is before that. And I wanted there to be fishing capability right here on the lot because it's a big lot, and I thought, what a perfect little space to put a fishable, if that's a word, pond right up at the top. And it does work. I play tested everything this build. I play test everything. I do. If you ever play one of my builds and you're like, Elena, this doesn't work, that's probably because I missed it and I'm very sorry. But for the most part, everything works. And sometimes there's like a chair, like an odd chair that your sim can't sit in, but all the major stuff will work. All of it will. Except I did make a house. I'm trailing off, I'm sorry. But I did make a house that I really, really like. And it was a seasons only house. I put in the description in the gallery and about this issue. I uploaded to gallery and then later realized that I had something hanging in the kitchen a little bit too low by the stove, and your Sims couldn't use the stove, and it broke my heart because I hope a lot of people, I mean, I don't know, maybe they didn't, no one downloaded and played it or noticed, or maybe they were able to fix it themselves. But anyway, I just felt really bad for uploading something to the gallery that like wasn't super duper functional. I mean, it's literally you just had to delete the pots and pan thing hanging over the stove. But yeah, so what I'm trying to say is I play test everything, and then sometimes I'll go in way later and I'll play with that build and I'll realize, oh shoot, I did miss something. But I will put a note in the comments, or hey, if you are a person that wants to download some of my build and you're like, whoa, this doesn't work, you can put a little comment in my thing being like, hey, just want to let you know that this doesn't work, but here's a little, usually it's just yeah, you just have to delete this one thing or move it over to the side. I try to make sure that everything's playable, because let me tell you, on my break I went back into playing a lot, and I played with so many of my builds. I I did have to, like, I don't play with cheats, so it took me a while to be able to afford some of my builds because they're expensive. Like I said earlier, I like to have affordable builds, but okay, they're not always affordable. But yeah, I went back and I started playing with a lot of my builds, and it was so much fun. I was really enjoying playing in pretty houses because usually, since I don't play with cheats, I have like starter homes at first, and I do make money, and my builds that I have built don't quite fit my Sims, like the amount of Sims I have and their hobbies, so I end up just building them something kind of crappy. Like you would not, you look at this and you're like, oh, okay, this is a very detailed house. And then you'll look at, if you go into my save files of games that I actually play, you will be disgusted at the kind of homes. Landscaping, non-existent. I don't have time for that, especially if it's snowing. You're not going to see the ground. My personal homes, I'm trying to up that. I'm trying to make them prettier. Okay, this is how I got building. This is how I got into building in the first place. I've always built, ever since I was a child and I first started playing The Sims. I built to give my Sims the best house they could have. And when I was little, that meant as big as possible, the most expensive furniture. So yes, it was very ugly. And I would also put windows, like the most expensive windows, on every surface of the exterior. I wish I could go back on my old like Windows 98 computer, load up The Sims 1, and show you some of the most hideous things you've ever seen. Colors in every room. It was a whole rainbow. It was beautiful. And every single object you could think of. But later on, as I continued playing, I realized that I wanted my Sims to have nice homes. So I usually start with really, really ugly homes. Not ugly, cheap homes. And then I'll slowly make it look nicer and build on. And then once they can afford something a little bit nicer, I'll go and I'll build. I'll like spend hours on one home. So this is how I got in building. I would spend I would spend like hours on one home for this particular family that would fit their specific needs. And that's kind of how I got into it. And then yeah, I just started my Sims account after that. But yeah, I would never consider building a house that I wasn't going to use. That would be like, why would you do that? Why would I do that? So now I'm trying to go in as often as I can and actually use my houses because I spend all the time on building them. Okay, let me put a pin in that. I'm so sorry. I can just talk your ear off. I'm making a wine rack right now, and this took an hour in real time. An hour. And yeah, it wasn't flawless. It wasn't smooth. I'm not like a tool shop. I'm not a tool mod master. I don't know everything you can do. I am a novice and I try my best, okay? I saw this picture on Pinterest of a really cool wine rack. So I gave it a try. Yeah, and that's what I did. I was really proud of myself, okay? You're allowed to be proud of yourself because it took an hour. There was a point that I wanted to give up on it, but I was like, no, I'm in this deep. And I'm going to finish it, okay? And it's funny because I look, the interior of this tiny house is not super cluttered, which I kind of like because I personally don't play with a ton of clutter because it's kind of annoying. I don't like it when my Sims have to move around a ton of stuff, but I do like a healthy mix of realistic looking clutter and stuff like that. Does that make sense? You're probably like, what? If you're still here, congratulations. You've made it this far. I have the gift of gab, unfortunately, for the people who are in my lives. You could talk to anyone that actually knows me and be like, yeah, Elena won't shut up. But anyway, this is the cute little sunroom greenhouse area. I pretty much just put a whole bunch of plants in there. You can't go wrong, okay? if you don't know what to do with a space, just put a plant in it. Okay, just put a plant in it. And if you're trying to do something different, I'm like, if you're trying to think of something different besides plants, there are things. I've been trying to use things other than plants lately. Yeah, because plants are a little bit, I overuse them sometimes. I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't? Gosh. So I've been trying to use like more sculpture stuff, but I definitely felt like this room was necessary for plants. It just made sense. I mean, I don't know how they get out there. None of these are doors. Maybe we can pretend. Let's just pretend that one of those windows is actually like a sliding glass door. The sim can go out there and water the plants, but it doesn't matter. You don't need to water your plants in the Sims. It doesn't matter. This bedroom was super tiny too, so there wasn't much I could do. So I just put some basic things. I always put some hobbies and some skill building stuff in every house because I feel like that's really important, because I know when I play, that's like the first thing I buy, because it makes you money and it gives you something to do. Not that I get bored, but like after you play for so long, I'm more of a collector in the Sims. Like, my Sims always out doing something. They're always out bettering themselves. They are like, I wish I was my own Sim. Like, I would be so much more productive if I was a Sim. My Sims are like getting multiple degrees. They are living their best life. They are constantly finding amazing gems just outside in their house and treasures. And they're living in these awesome houses. And I'm also super jealous that you could just change anything in your house at like a snap of your fingers. Because guess what? I did some smaller renovations around my house during my break, and stuff takes time. Like, I painted an accent wall, and that was like a whole thing. But in The Sims, it's like, hold on, let me just go into build by real quick. So yeah, I'm just a little jealous. I kind of wish I was a Sim. That's all I have to say about that. So I wanted to have a lot of little blue accents in here, even though the exterior used a lot of purple flowers, but I was feeling blue. I think maybe because, okay, let me think. This is May. I'm trying to think of what packs just came out. So we had the paranormal pack, which, who isn't still in love with all the items in that? I mean, I know it's not for everyone, but I am. And the Oasis Courtyard pack just came out, so I used some items from there. And blue was just really speaking to me in the interior, so I just kind of ran with it, white and blue. I wanted it, since it's a small house, tiny house, light colors can make a space feel bigger, so I decided to go with, like, you know, white. Super simple. And guess what? Your Sims house, I mean, it can get dirty. I do have Bite the Dust. But yeah, this would actually be super easy to vacuum. If you don't have the pack, I actually kind of like Bite the Dust. If you're not a player, if you just build, it wouldn't be worth it. Like, it only gives you a couple vacuums, and that's not worth it. But it does give you a good amount of gameplay. As far as like the gameplay aspect of Bite the Dust is concerned. But anyway, I'm almost done with this. I'm gonna wrap this up right now. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry, I can just babble on forever. If you enjoyed this video, you can give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to my channel. But other than that, I hope you have an amazing day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.